After what's been the dirtiest, most depressing campaign in history, Americans have to choose between what many see as the entitlement candidate, Hillary of the Clinton dynasty, and a demagogue, Donald Trump, whose only response to accusations that he's a serial abuser of women and a tax avoider is to claim that he's the victim of an establishment conspiracy. Thank goodness it's not our decision. So, who will it be and what does it mean for us? Nigel, you've been across to see Trump in action. I'm not 100% certain how much advice you've given to him, but you've given a bit. But can I just ask you, look, this is a man who has swaggered on film about groping women. He's threatened revenge against other women who accuse him of violating them. He won't make full financial disclosures. He's even threatened not to respect the election result if he thinks in some way it's been rigged. So what do you see in him?
Well, I don't support everything he said or stands for. I haven't even endorsed him. What I have said is I think his direction of travel is right on some of the biggest issues that face the world and indeed his country too.
So what is I mean, because he doesn't believe in free trade, which is, I understand, that you believe in.
He believes in nation-state democracy. He believes in sensible border controls. He believes that ISIS is a threat we should face up to, and he believes we should stop getting involved in an endless series of wars in the Middle East that's made life worse, not better. Simple as that. And in terms of direction of travel, I think with those things, he's going the right way.
Jan, you didn't start off as a Trump supporter, but you are now.
Well, I didn't support any candidate when I was in the role of worldwide vice president until we had a nominee. You know,
right.
I just supported all of them as they kept falling out.
Quite a lot of Republicans have backed away from him. Why haven't you?
Well, the establishment Republicans have backed away from him. The ones that don't want the system to change, the ones that don't see how much they have failed in our government and how dysfunctional it is.
But Jan, over here, what do we see? We see this idea to build this enormous wall, you know, to keep out Mexicans. We see him saying he doesn't respect the great institutions of America. What is it that you see in him?
Well, you know, it's interesting that you say that's what you see. I can understand why that's what you see, because the liberal media only presents those things, and I am so tired of hearing it, because it's the only things you guys keep bringing up.
So tell us the other things about it.
So have you thought about the fact that he is the right leader at the right time to do things in the right way? And I bet that comes as a huge shock to you.
No, it doesn't, but give us some detail.
I will give you some details, and let's just look at his actions already. Okay, he entered politics, didn't know a thing. Okay, he discovers that he needs to win delegates. He just thought, you know, if he got the votes in the primaries. So what does he do? He finds the best guy to do that. He eliminates 16 people, and he takes over. Then, what does he discover? A couple of people tell him, you know, you really are messing up with your mouth. You know, you're kind of offending people, and you've got too many truth temperers around you. You need somebody who's going to tell you the truth. So what did he do? He put in two people who are not beholden to him, who are wealthy in their own right, who have known him, think out of the box. 2 days later, he came out and he said, I understand that I have offended some people, and I really regret it. That was step number one. I have watched his behavior very, very carefully, because I have had some concerns after the convention, and he keeps changing. He is sticking to his points. He's clear.
But what does he stand for? You've told us that he's learning about how to be a candidate.
Well,
but
no, he's learned how to run a political campaign, and it's
not the same thing as running America, though, is it?
No. But you know what it shows is his leadership ability and his ability to learn and his ability to succeed quickly in an area that he might not have had the experience in.
He's not an intern. You know that, don't you?
I'm going to remember that line for the next time. But you know what?
He's stay away from Bill if he was.
Yeah.
But, you know, what you're describing is someone who basically is picking it up as he goes along.
Well, why? Is something wrong with that?
Well, there
if
is
he's
something
not
wrong with that, actually, which is
politics?
you've used the phrase the establishment twice, and this is a thing that Nigel does too. The language of revolution and of the left has been appropriated by the right, so that they talk a lot about the establishment and the political classes, so that they can sound like the Mavericks and sound like the people of revolution. It's all rubbish, of course. Trump is a member of the establishment.
Okay.
He owns like 5 jets and 1,800 hotels. Okay, he's one of the richest people ever. He is a man of power. He is a man of the establishment. He's not a poor Mexican.
Okay, so if you listen to him,
Yeah, I
he
have
has
listened to him.
said, well, no, because
I have, honestly.
what you're saying
As a comedian, I listen to him like
I
all
bet,
the time.
I bet.
Trust me.
But you're making it as a negative. He has said, I have been an insider, and now I'm an outsider because I'm going to
okay.
change that system. And that is one of the key things that our system does need to be changed. You know what I wish that politicians would do? I wish they would wear race car drivers' uniforms. You know, it's all white.
No, we
and
all
they
wish
had,
that, Janet.
Wait a minute. And then they had to wear the emblems of all their corporate sponsors, everyone they take money from, so you would see how much our politicians are bought by lobbyists, by corporations, by associations, and they are not their own.
Right,
Well,
and
you
he's
have
bought
Nigel
just by
Rothmans,
Putin,
wouldn't
is
he?
he? Or-
One or two well-known brewers, probably. But
What I'm worried about is the 16 people Trump has eliminated. I mean, what has happened to them? Where are they buried?
I think you'll find Vladimir Putin knows where they are.
Well, you know,
But one of the, Emily, one of the striking things about all the polls is that the American people don't really love either of these candidates. There's an enormous amount of disillusionment both with Hillary and with Donald Trump, and for many people it's the choice between two evils. Why do you think the American system appears to have broken down to the extent it has?
I think that it has got extraordinarily aggressive and very, very divisive, and I think you can see them campaigning entirely on the basis of
Were the Democrats wrong to pick Hillary, do you
personalities.
think?
No, I don't think so, because I think that she is... I mean, she doesn't need to learn on the job. You know,
she sure does. I don't know any of her accomplishments.
You know, if you
Labels, activities, travel.
she can just go on failing, can't she?
Yeah, she can.
Well,
Thank
I
you,
think
Nigel.
that there have been a number of things that she has succeeded on. And I think that it's important when we are putting our faith in someone who will have such an influential role in the Middle East,
Don't you
who will
think
have
she's
the nuclear
crooked?
codes,
No.
who will
You don't?
No,
who
on
will
what
be
basis?
leader of the Western world.
On what basis?
You know, I think all of these things need to be done by people who have experience and who understand, and not someone who learns on the job. I think my problem with I think my problem with Trump as well is the personality, is the way in which whenever he makes a mistake, he digs a deeper and deeper hole for himself.
Well, he had been, but he's...
But he does, and that's the problem, you know. So if he was to get himself into a difficult situation in the Middle East, or if he was to get himself into a difficult economic situation, he would just continue making it worse, and that worries me very much indeed. And I just think that the idea that this person might have their finger on the nuclear button worries me profoundly. And when it comes to Britain, I think that it's going to affect us in two ways. I think the things that he said about NATO are very worrying. You know, I think that we rely on NATO for our security, and he essentially has said that he can see no reason why the Europeans can't look after themselves and will be pulling out of the NATO alliance, which is something which is profoundly worrying. And also this
And just
idea
on
of
that-
perfectionism.
But, you know, Emily,
protectionism
here's the
and
thing,
pulling
is that-
out of free trade.
But you know what?
Where will
Here's
it
the
end?
thing about Donald Trump. He has been so brilliant at manipulating the media, and you pick
I
on
pick on
wait a
things that
minute.
he said and I hold him to account, yeah.
All
Because
right.
that's what politics ought to be about. It ought to be about what are you going to do and how can you change people's lives. It shouldn't be about your hairstyle. It shouldn't be about what colours you wear. It should be what are your policies and what are you going to do. That's what it should be.
Emily's right about protectionism, but it's not just Donald Trump. Whoever wins this election, you know, Barack Obama got into a load of trouble for saying we're going to be at the back of the queue. Yeah. But with either of these guys, there isn't going to be a queue. There aren't going to be any free trade deals. Hillary Clinton has been dragged off to the left by Bernie Sanders. Donald Trump's not interested in free trade either. You know,
but Tim, we've got
Britain
checks
is not
and
going to
balances.
benefit from either of these people.
We've got Congress. One of the congressmen was over here on July 4th after the referendum, and I had quite a few Brits around as well, and they said, what are we going to do about trade? You know, the best thing Obama did was to come over here and say you needed to remain, because with Netanyahu, he tried to screw him up, and he tried to defeat Brexit, and it was the best thing he did because it made people see how some of these politicians in power want to influence and think they know better. And that was what you said, Emily, that really it gets my ire up that somehow you think politicians are smarter than when the public has spoken by how they voted. And you don't take that into consideration.
I don't think that's true, and I don't think that's fair. I personally think that politicians have to continue to listen to the people, and they have to learn from the people, and they have to make sure that they go out and they talk to as many people as possible, and they keep their ears open.
But it's not okay for Donald Trump to learn on the job?
No, because I think you also need to have some experience, and actually, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that, with all due respect, we have lots of people who have journalist backgrounds who go into politics who think all I need to do is I need to be able to write a good racy column which will get people's attention, or in Trump's case, go onto television and say outrageous things, get lots of people's attention, and then suddenly I can be president.
Also,
there is more to it than
I'm not
that.
planning to do that.
What has Donald learnt exactly? Because it seems to me that he's learnt mainly to wear a baseball hat to cover the fact that his hair looks like shredded wheat. That seems to be the main thing that he's learned.
Off camera, I can tell you quite a few things that would help your comedic act.
Okay.
I'd be happy to do that.
I'd really like to hear.
What I would like to do is not discuss what he's learned, but for once have an opportunity to not rehash all these other things, but get some people to understand some things about him. You hear build a wall because he speaks in concrete language. He wants to stop the illegal aliens for coming in.
So it's a metaphor. Okay. It's not a real wall. Because every time anybody asks about him, he says it's a real wall.
He speaks in concrete language.
Okay, here's
Come on, it's a big, beautiful wall, isn't it? I'm
with
very
a big,
excited about
beautiful
seeing
door.
it.
All right, here's another thing.
door.
Here's another thing, is that it's very hard for people over here to understand what's wrong with Obamacare, because it is not NHS. It was supposed to be affordable insurance. It has become unaffordable insurance, and it only insures 20 million people of a country of 320 million. Even Bill Clinton came out and said, this is the craziest thing where you pay more every month and you get less and less. My friends in Arizona, a family of 3, it has gone up 116%. So he now has $2,100 a month he pays just to have the right to have insurance. Each member of the family must pay $5,000 after the $24,000 they pay all year of their own medical expenses before the insurance kicks in. Donald Trump wants to create a competitive market because I live in California. I can't buy insurance from an insurance provider in Illinois because I can't cross state lines. He wants to get rid of those state lines. And that is one of the things that then makes it far more affordable.
And if I could just ask, Nigel, because in your life, if all goes to plan, you'll be looking for new employment quite soon. Would you work for him?
Well, I am booked on the plane Wednesday morning, so we'll just have to see.
You are booked on Wednesday
I'm
morning.
going over there. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. All I can say is
Has he had any conversations with him about working for him?
This election's very simple.
I think that's a yes.
It's rather like Brexit. It's, do you want to change, or do you want to stick exactly as you are? That's what it's all about.
But you have you've obviously had conversations with him. You've had conversations with him. What's the role going to be? You're going to be...
No. Well, I mean, if he did offer me a job, I would quite like to be his ambassador to the European Union. I think I do that job very well.
So, Jan, does he have that much of a sense of humour? That's the question.
That's really gone down well. She doesn't have to tell you anything to be like off camera, Nigel. I don't think she can recover from that.
This will be the proof that we're living in the sort of post-truth, or is it the post-reality world or the post-truth world? Yeah.
Post-truth. I think that's the problem. I think that if we end up with our politics being about post-truth politics, if we end up with our politics being a politics where we don't need to hear from experts, where our politics can be just pushed down to do we want change or do we want the same? I mean, the American elections are about more than that. It's about more than that, and people do need to think about more because because the choices that you make can make a profound difference.
Okay.
I think looking at it, and obviously we're a long way away, but I think the way in which we look at the United States and look at the way in which it is being so divided by this election, and some of the things that Donald Trump has said, seems to me to divide a country very much.
Emily,
and that
I'm going to be rude to both of you because unfortunately we are now out of time.